How can you even make money driving for Uber and Lyft in 2022? Is it even worth it at this point? I've had a few folks ask me to make a video on it, so here I am. And I've been driving as a rideshare driver off and on since 2014. So I feel I've been in the business long enough to answer that question. So can you make money doing Uber or Lyft in 2022? Let me first start off by saying that in this business, the ride-sharing business, the goal of Uber and Lyft, based on my observation after doing this for 6-7 years off and on, they want to find out what is the lowest we can pay drivers and still keep them on the road. So keep that in mind. No matter what you do or where you're doing it, they are trying to find a way to get you or someone like you to do it for less. So can you still make money even doing this in 2022? Yes, but you need some serious strategy. I'm going to give you a few tips, and you let me know in the comments if you've engaged in any of these or they make sense to you or you've seen others doing this. First, do not do this full time. Do not do it full time, as even Uber and Lyft refers to it as. It is a side hustle. Do not use this as your primary source of income. Like I just stated before, their goal is to see how low you will do this and remain on the road, which means they are constantly lowering prices, lowering fares, removing bonuses, trying to cut the surge, increasing their take. Do not do this full time. Have another source of primary income so that if this gets to be too ridiculous, it doesn't hurt you to get out of it. Second, do not drive for regular fares. I repeat, do not drive for regular fares. What I mean, regular fare, that's when there is no surge, no bonus, no promos being offered or anything. You're just going and picking somebody up, taking them from point A to point B. The reason I say do not drive for regular fares are they're not worth it. You are not profiting even to the point of the 53 cents or something that the IRS gives you per mile. You're barely profiting at that rate in a lot of markets. Do not drive for regular rates. I cannot stress that any stronger, which is also why I say avoid doing this full time. Because if you drive 8 hours a day, chances are some of that's going to be done at regular rates, and you're not making any money at that point. Do not drive further than average trips. This one can be a little complicated. What I mean by average trips, when you're driving, how often, or better yet, how far does your average passenger travel? In my market, the average trip is going to be between 1 and 5 miles. Most people getting in a vehicle are going to travel between 1 and 5 miles. Having said that, do not travel, if you're in my market, my motto would be do not travel more than 5 miles to pick someone up. If the average person is not going to travel more than 5 miles, it makes no sense to drive 10 miles at your own cost to pick up someone, and you're only going to earn money for 5 miles. Do not drive more than the average trip. That's going to change from market to market. In your city, maybe people are riding for an average of 10 or 15 miles. Then it may be okay in that case to drive 10 miles, 15 miles to go pick someone up. But if they're only getting in and getting out after a couple miles, it makes no sense to be traveling 10 miles to get somebody, and they're going to be in and out of your car in 3 minutes, and you're going to make $2 and something. So do not drive further than the average trips you receive. Next, do not drive outside of your area. This is extremely important. This can absolutely cost you money if you start doing this. When I say outside of your area, let's say my hand in a circle represents your city. There's another suburb over here that is outside of your area, but you can get trips in that suburb that'll bounce you around in that suburb. You get a trip in your town for someone that wants to go to that suburb. You take that person to that suburb. When it's time for you to come home to your area, that trip back is going to be on you. So you do not want to drive somebody, say 20, 30 miles outside of your area to their suburb, and then you got to eat the cost of that 20-mile trip back. That means instead of getting paid for 20 miles, you're essentially driving 40 miles because you got to get back. Even if you drive out of your area and drive to a suburb and take a host of trips there, whenever you're done at the end of the day, you're going to drive back, and the chances are highly likely that no one is going to be in your vehicle. So try to avoid driving out of your area. I know this can be a challenge because in ride sharing, they deliberately hide where the person is going until you get right up on them. I personally, because the pay is so low, this kind of equates to bad service, but you have no choice. When I get to the location, maybe a few hundred feet or so, I'll slide arrived or whatever it is on Uber and note myself there, and then you can check and see where they're going. If they're going outside the area, I'll cancel the trip. I'd rather drive 5 or 6 miles to pick someone up and lose the 5 miles I deadheaded than to take someone 30, 40 miles outside of the area and have to deadhead 30 or 40 miles back at my own expense. It's just not worth it. So do not drive outside of your area. I even have signs in my vehicle telling folks, just in case they accidentally get in or they decide they want to change the trip once they're in here and they want to go outside the area. Unless you're going to throw me a big tip, it's not going to happen. Next, do not chase surges and bonuses. This is a trap. This is an absolute trap. You hear it all over social media. Virtually any of the folks, the Rideshare guy and these folks, Uber man, all these folks that have been making channels over the years about driving for Uber and Lyft, do not chase surges. 2 reasons, and bonuses, by the way. Lyft has bonuses, Uber has surges. First of all, if you drive to an area where there's a surge does not mean you're going to get that money. It just means a whole lot of passengers or potential passengers are opening the app at the same time in an area where they do not have a lot of drivers. The passengers that are looking at the app may see how much extra is going to cost in ride, and they close it. There is no guarantee that any of those folks looking at the app is actually going to request a trip. So if you drive to that area chasing the surge that's there, there's no guarantee any of those folks looking at the app creating the surge is even going to request a ride. Also, when you drive to that area, you start to slowly increase the numbers in that area. So if it's only 1 or 2 drivers there and 10 people are looking at the app, you got 10 potential customers for only 2 drivers. So the surge comes on. 3 or 4 of you guys decide to chase the surge and come to the area. Even though none of you are getting a trip, there's more drivers in the area now. So the surge starts to come down. So now you've potentially driven a few miles across town or even more chasing the surge that you didn't get, wasting fuel, and the surge comes down for everybody. Do not chase surges. Lyft does it in the form of bonuses, and the exact same scenario applies. There's no guarantee you're going to get it. It can disappear at any time. I would strongly recommend not chasing surges. In the case of Lyft, if you're real close to an area and you see a big bonus or something, maybe. But when I say don't chase, I mean don't drive no more than a few blocks trying to get into a surge area. Next, do not wait for people when they have more than one stop. Let's say somebody's getting in your vehicle and they want to go home, but they want to stop at a grocery store on the way home. Excuse me. The pay is the reason for all of this shit. But let me just say, the pay, what you're receiving per minute waiting for people, is literally pennies. I mean, I've heard it as low as 15 cents a minute. It makes absolutely no sense for you to sit in your vehicle, potentially running the heat, air condition, or just idle in the car for 15 cents a minute. For me personally, unless there's some special circumstance where the passenger has indicated they're going to tip, which is very rare, or somebody has told me, you want me to buy you anything when I go in there? Maybe something like that. Somebody go to a gas station or go into a store. You want something, I'll get you a hamburger. Okay, something to make it worth your while. But if you're not getting anything out of it, you're receiving anywhere between 15 cents and about 25 cents a minute waiting for that person. The minute they get out of your car at that first stop, you have the right to cancel that stop, get paid for the part you've done, and leave. If you're in the middle of a surge, you're in the middle of, what do they call it, bonuses, like do 3 or 4 trips in a row and you get $20 or whatever the hell they have in your market, it's in your best interest to cancel it. Why would you sit in the middle of a surge when you could potentially get a new trip waiting for somebody making 25 cents or 15 cents a minute? The minute they get out of your car and you get permission to cancel that trip, cancel the trip. It's not worth waiting on it. Now, it's obviously different if you take my advice and you don't drive for normal fares. So if you got somebody in the car and you're waiting on them and it's a $5 surge, then yeah, every mile you drive them is paying at a premium. So yeah, you can wait all day long like that. But in most cases, like if you're doing with Lyft, and they give you, do 5 trips and we'll give you an extra $40 or something like that. Well, the minute they get in the car and you do them, you take them for even a half leg of that trip, Lyft counts that as a whole trip. So let's say you've done 4 trips already, you're waiting on your 5th trip and you're gonna go home. And the person has 2 stops. The minute you complete that first stop, you've got your bonus. That second leg of their trip is paying you a regular fare. And you know what I already said about driving at regular fare. So in most cases, unless you really feel like you have some kind of moral obligation, it might not be in your best interest to be waiting on them when they come out. I've left passengers. I mean, it is what it is. And they know you can leave them. So they actually do know that. So that's and here's the last one. Do not, and I hate to say it this way, but it is what it is, and most drivers know. Do not trust Uber or Lyft. They do not operate in your best interest. They are not concerned with your safety or even if you make a profit at all. Everything about how they run a business makes it clear. They have no concern over how you're doing out here. Whether it's putting folks in passenger positions that have criminal records and them doing little to no background checks. In fact, I believe as a passenger, you can actually create an account so you can hail rides and not even be required to use your actual name. So I believe Lyft and Uber knows who you are, but the driver, if you pick up somebody named Slim, that doesn't tell you anything. So you can have that situation. There's a host of situations where it's clear they just simply do not really give a damn about you. So I'm just going to tell you for a fact, do not trust Uber and Lyft. If someone says something bad about you, it could be totally illegitimate, totally just created out of thin blue air because they don't like you, you can get canceled or terminated from the platform. Uber and Lyft operates in the best interest of the passenger. They do not care about drivers. If something happens and you need to get in contact with them, you can find that to be extremely difficult. I believe when it comes to Lyft, most of their contact is through text messages or emails. They don't even let you call them. So do not trust Uber or Lyft. They have had settlements where they were taking passengers or taking drivers tips, all of that. I'll give you a laundry list of reasons not to trust Uber or Lyft, but I would tell you the number one reason is lack of transparency. You do not know what that customer is paying. You do not know what that customer tipped or any of that. It is totally up to you to take whatever Uber throws at you. And it's been proven that they are not on the up and up in regards to that. Anyway, folks, the video's long enough. I would love to hear if you have any additional tips for folks who want to get in this business and how they may be able to, I want to say maximize profits, but to some degree, just make profits in general. So if you had any further tips to add, please add those in the comments. Love to talk to you guys. I always respond to comments, but yeah, keep in mind, it's going to be this is a position where you need to have strategy. If you just simply take any trip that Uber sends you, take any trip that Lyft sends you, try to keep up the 90% acceptance rate that they suggest, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose money. You need bonuses, you need surges, and you need to pay attention to where you're picking people up and how far they're going. It's your boy Tim. Catch you guys in the next video.